I think everybody has the minutes from both the council UDO meeting we had as well as the regular meeting we had. So it's up to you, someone to make a motion to accept them.
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for the meetings.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Probably have to do a roll call, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dubon.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Ware.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
Bounds.
Aye.
5 ayes. No nays.
Same goes for the approval of claims.
Make a motion to approve the claims.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Dubon.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Ware. Kissling.
Aye.
Bounds.
Aye.
5 ayes. No nays.
I just have a couple of things on. First of all, just so everybody knows, I think you probably do, but just to go through the fact that we just had two closings Wednesday, one on the 14th Street property that we've been dealing with, as well as the China Walk building also closed on Wednesday. So we actually got keys today, and I elected Paul to go check it out. Actually, I'll go with him, so we'll see what that is. The other thing is, as far as the last time we tabled the parking signs or no parking signs in Hunter's Crossing, and we were going to table it till today as to go ahead and putting those signs up and basically make it enforceable. So I'll entertain some motion, or you need to discuss more about it. I think you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I driven out there again, and I hope you guys have the opportunity to do it too, to look at the Hunter's Crossing Way. And at this time, I like to recommend, make a suggestion as keeping it as no parking for now until the complete subdivision is. If you look on your list here, I handed out is a subdivision plot. And right now they're showing possibly 3, maybe 4 homes that was going to be direct entryway off of that. But I'm still thinking it's narrow enough coming off the main thoroughfare, they call it, I guess. It will be a really busy road right there. And I thought for now, I went out and talked to somebody that was in the office that working there, and she says they don't see a problem with that for now. And I said we can entertain to look at it in the future if more people want to come and put parking on that street. But I suggest for safety purposes, and it's a nice right road to get in and out quickly, I believe, without interference of other cars parked on either side of the road. It doesn't matter. So I would go along with the rest of it being as planned, but I think I would suggest make this no parking on either side on Hunter Crossing Way only.
That's Hunter Crossing Pass.
Or passage, yeah.
So
Sorry about that.
the current ordinance, as I remember, says that between West Stellar Way and Raider Court, that section of Hunter's Crossing Pass right now is no parking on one side.
That's correct. I forget which, is that north and south road?
Yes.
Be
Yeah.
west, no parking.
That's correct.
West
West side.
Yeah.
So I've driven that road too, and I'm out there in that subdivision all the time. Both my kids live in that subdivision, not on that road, but I agree with Tim. I think if you put a row of cars on one side of that road, and then you come off of the bypass road is
Right.
called
Hunter
Progress Parkway. If you come off Progress, which speed limit is 25, I believe, through there, but it's pretty obvious that people drive a little faster than the speed limit, trying to beat a train or get around a train to get home in the evening. And if you come off of that road and turn onto that street, if you picture cars on even one side of that road, it's gonna really pinch traffic. Not just right there at the intersection, but all the way down through there. And there's only going to be a few houses, as Tim's pointed out, there's only going to be a few houses that actually front that road where their driveways will come out on Hunter's Crossing Pass. I think before those lots are purchased, it would probably be a good idea to have this ordinance in place to not allow parking on either side of that road so that they can sell those lots accordingly. I think the homeowner that buys them ought to know that there's not going to be parking allowed on that street before they make their deposit. My personal feelings. And then I think it would also be a good idea, Tim had suggested this too, that maybe we ought to have a conversation with the developer. I think it's Jane Hendrickson, and talk to her about the possibility of if we're not going to allow parking on that street, how can we accommodate those few people who will have frontage on that street and their driveway is going to enter and exit on that street, but aren't allowed to park on that street? You know, maybe those homes could or should include a little extra concrete so that they can stay off of that road and not be hindered by the fact that there's no parking there. But I think it would be wrong to wait until those homes are sold and then come in and pass an ordinance that didn't allow parking on that street. So I don't, Phil, would it, if everybody's in agreement, of course, would it be better to table it one more week and adjust it accordingly and then vote on it next time? Or do we approve this and then next week approve another one that amends it? I'm not sure.
So I guess I'm a little confused as to, and I don't have a plat map in front of me. Where are you proposing no parking on both sides?
Right
Just
now,
coming off of the Progress Parkway up here and then going straight in.
It's a Progress Park.
Right, right there. And then that whole street coming off there onto
So Hunter's Crossing Pass
Pass.
on
Yes.
both sides, no parking on both sides, all the way to Stellar Way.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so what do we have now? That's just to Raiders Court right now.
Yeah, that one block section is all that this ordinance.
And everything else is parking on both sides for now. And there's no restriction on
Right,
parking
exactly.
Yeah.
right now.
I
But you're
think
proposing that to make it no parking on both sides, the whole length of it?
Yeah.
Especially like if we say make a rule now, I know construction hasn't started up here. Any lot right now with no circle on it is not even offered for sale yet. Because they said they're not ready to be offered for sale. So that's why I'm thinking if we can have the ruling, but I don't want to restrict any construction vehicles parked there on the side loading or unloading. But I'm thinking down and eventually this whole road would be non-parking all the way down to Stellar Way. On both sides, no parking on either side, because everybody else that has those other streets will be parking on one side on one side anyway.
Yeah, Steve, you're familiar with that. What do you think about that?
I am in agreement at this point with Tim and on this as far as no parking coming in off of Progress Parkway. From looking at the plat here, at least indefinitely at this point. Now, if we find after this subdivision is completely full and maybe we can limit it to something different, but
Yeah, I mean,
I sure like to know that if I was buying a lot there. I don't want to get sidestepped, later and say, well, it was parking on one side, but now we're not going to have parking on either side.
I think it's a whole lot easier to put parking there rather than trying to take it away later.
Yeah.
I mean, so if we need to change it later to do that, we certainly can do that.
change to no parking.
Yeah.
I think for safety factors too, coming off those two streets, people, as Jeff said, they're coming down Hunter's Crossing Pass. And you got cars trying to access that. There's a car parked there that could obstruct views. It could be a situation for an accident because it is a main corridor into that subdivision. And fire safety, fire vehicles and stuff that would open up to make a turn with a big truck.
Yeah, I think it's important to address too that there's only, like when you come off of Progress Parkway, there's only like two on the left and one on the right that's going to, I can't, you can see 106, is it 103? And then on the opposite side of the road, I can't read the number, but there's only going to be, I think, 3 properties whose driveway intersects there. Everything else, the properties face the side streets. Like the properties face Wilson, the properties face Raider Court, and then, so none of those properties that you see that have already been built out, or even some that haven't been built out, none of those have driveways that come onto Hunter's Crossing Pass. There's only a few right up next to the intersection.
I think there's 5 total.
Yeah. So So again, that's where the pinch is going to be. I think that's where traffic's going to be trying to get onto Progress or off of Progress.
I think it'd be easier to put the signs up now on both sides. And then if we need to address it later, we certainly can do that. But right now, let people know that if you're going to buy those lots eventually, that there could be no parking.
Yeah. And we can tell the construction people, like Scott Jago, we can let him know, or let Mike, the manager out there, know that that's not going to be enforced yet. When you're still building them out, there's going to be construction vehicles in and out of there that are going to be okay to be on that road. I'm going to assume that would be okay for now, but that once it's finished out, those signs will remain. And I think it would be a good signal to let people know that are looking at those properties that they're buying.
So which signs would be enforceable and which signs wouldn't be if we're putting signs up on both?
Well, the only thing that's enforceable is what we own. And what we own now is going to be the new spots that we own, that we're putting signs around.
Yeah.
Because we haven't took into our inventory some of these streets yet.
So I guess if maybe what you're suggesting is maybe we shouldn't put signs up along there yet,
But yeah,
let the developers know. I guess what I'm saying is, even if we pass this ordinance and say no parking on that road, there's still going to be construction vehicles in there. And we should, of course, allow them to park their vehicles there while they're building out the subdivision.
Right.
So in essence, we go back to the Board of Public Works and Safety proposal as far as the signage is concerned, and just tell the developer not to let them know that it's going to change once the construction is done. Does that make sense?
But at this point, if you drive out there, the signs are marked from Stellar Way to Greater Court. There's no parking.
They've already been put up.
Right.
Yeah.
So we
On the
need-
west side. Oh,
Yes, we need to remove and say no parking on that street. We don't think it really affects it this time. Because there's no.
They're in our inventory, aren't they?
Yes, the ones that are in their inventory have signs on them.
Right. Anything else I wouldn't put signs on,
Not yet.
that we don't own them.
Okay.
So basically, we just need to approve what the Board of Public Works and Safety put out to start with.
well,
Well, I think you want to say no parking either side.
down here,
From
yes,
Hunter's Crossing between Stellar Way and Raider Court.
correct.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And
Okay.
then leave parking in place, although it's understood that it's going to be no parking for the rest of that.
Correct.
Rest of that stretch until it builds out.
Okay.
Correct. And if we can come up with a sign that says this side or whatever for the rest of them put underneath, because I went out and looked at the signs, I hate to replace them on the sign, but there's room under the sign to put this side for the verbiage, like we talked about last time, for people are confused about it.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
What we got?
So the motion is to introduce a number. I'm not sure what the ordinance is. No parking restriction ordinance.
2021-05.
And for your sake, let me just review it. It would be restricting parking on Stellar Way between Chestnut Street and cul-de-sac at the west end on the north side only. On Hunter's Crossing between Stellar Way and Raider Court, you are now proposing that there be no parking on either side. On Raider Court between Knee House Trail and the cul-de-sac to the east end, no parking on the north side. And Knee House Trail from Stellar Way to Raider Court, no parking on the west side.
Correct.
Okay, so there's a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Roll call?
Was that you? Was that
That's it.
Duvon?
Aye.
McFerrin?
Aye.
Ware?
Aye.
Kissling? Bounds?
Aye.
5 ayes.
And you can, if you want to consider adoption on the same night that you introduced it. And rules.
I'll make that motion to adopt.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Second.
Both of us had our hands up, but then
Give it to Glenn. We're not keeping score.
That means he's buying it. Roll call?
Duvon?
Aye.
McFerrin?
Aye.
Ware?
Aye.
Kissling?
Aye.
Bounds? 5 ayes.
Final passage.
make motion.
I'll make a motion. Final passage tonight.
For a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Dubon.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Ware.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
Bounds.
Aye.
5 ayes.
So I don't know if this is critical or not, but I think there ought to be some kind of formal contact with whoever's in charge so that we can say that those properties that our intent is to make that road no parking from
Eventually.
from progress all the way through. And so that we can show that we notified the proper authorities there in that subdivision of that intent, so that a homeowner in the future can be told that it was communicated. Does that make sense?
So would it be like an email?
There's something that we need to legally put together for that, or just a letter?
Not really, but I just think, yeah, just to a developer and even maybe a copy to Jago Homes.
Okay, I'll have to make sure that gets done.
Okay.
Is,
Thank you.
Is Hunter's Crossing Circle, the one road on the furthest west side, is that going to intersect with Progress Parkway?
No, I don't
No.
think so.
Just going into the
It's just
cul-de-sac?
gonna end
Gonna end the
the
cul-de-sac, yes.
So we're okay on that one. Okay, I'll make sure we get a letter sent out to those people to make
Not
sure.
revise the draft of the ordinance.
Okay. The last thing on there is just kind of a reminder, I guess, more than anything else. Obviously, we've had some concerns recently. It seems to get worse and worse all the time, that double parking, going in the wrong direction, parking on the wrong side of the street. There have been some times when there have been close calls as far as accidents are concerned because of that. So we actually did send out a memo again to all the business owners, the fact that we were now going to start enforcing. Before, I think we just told them we were going to give them warnings, things of that kind, and they kind of take advantage of it. So I have instructed the chief parks to go ahead and start enforcing the requirements, the ordinance that we put together 2 years ago, whatever it happens to be that we put together. So if you all get calls, you'll know why. But right now, that's the way the ordinance reads, and that's what we're going to enforce. So if you have any questions about that, I'll be glad to answer them for you. But and it's pretty cut and dry, pretty plain as to what the ordinance says. So and they can work it out as far as delivery people are concerned. So anybody have any questions about that?
I want to, I think, accommodate the downtown merchants as much as we can and try to be empathetic and maybe responsive to their concerns. And there are some that have expressed reasonable concerns to us. I think I'd like to continue to look for ways to make the situation as good as possible.
Right.
Maybe there needs to be a meeting or some type of discussion among the downtown merchants and our council, or a few of our council, maybe mayor and a couple of us, so we don't have a quorum, but get together and make sure that they know we've heard their concerns and just see if there's any solutions that can be found for any of their unique situations. I'm not sure what the answers are yet, but I would like to be sure that we've heard all the concerns and explored all the options, making sure that there's maybe assigned areas for those trucks to be. And obviously they should know by now, but I think again, if we're satisfied that we've clearly told the delivery people what their options are, not just what they can't do, but what can they do, where can they park their trucks. I'd feel a lot better, and maybe it's already happened, but I'd feel better about the whole situation if I knew that.
Well, I just know that what's happened since I've been in here. And I know that information has gone out to the companies, whether it got to all the drivers or not. I can't tell you that, but I do know that they've been informed many times.
Yeah.
I have no problem getting together with, and hear concerns about what we can or can't do. But, unfortunately, the ordinance as it is right now says that this can't be done. So if it comes to the point where we have a meeting and you all want to change the ordinance, then that's up to you all to do that. But right now, we're going to go ahead with what we were supposed to do a while back. So
do we need to address like the alleys, let's say next to Mama T's, that they can park in there, but maybe limited time? Because, you know.
Well, and that's where, I mean, like today, I noticed the fact that one of the delivery drivers found a parking space, and he took his cart and he delivered 3 or 4 stores while he's doing that, instead of stopping and starting and stopping and starting in front of every store. And then the next block he went down, he pulled into the bank parking lot, which was off the street. So he took it, went across the street, which is what most of them do in any other town. So it's up to you. If you want me to put something together, I'll certainly be glad to do that with the merchants, maybe get 2 or 3 of the merchants together and talk about it. But what it's going to come down to is what you all decide to do.
I'm not aware that the merchants have been complaining about it, have they? I haven't
No,
heard
I
any
think it's been
complaints.
more the drivers. Definitely.
The drivers have been complaining, I know.
There's been 1 or 2 merchants, but most of the time it's the drivers.
And as you may recall, these rules were promulgated, these regulations were promulgated basically on the requirements or the requests of the merchants.
Yeah, true.
It wasn't something that cities just unilaterally did. But, you know, you always should be open to listening, obviously.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, fix it.
Do the merchants still have the association meeting
Yes,
on a regular basis?
yes. In fact, they have a new president. I think Andrea Tooley is now the president of the Downtown Merchants.
I wouldn't mind at least hearing if, bringing up the subject at one of their meetings and asking, if there's any consensus to, any particular thing if they could change something, what would they change? Or, right now the ordinance reads 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Maybe there's, there's some common ground there that could be changed, or maybe nothing needs changed, but it'd be nice to know these ordinances were put in place prior to opening the street, if I remember, or upon opening the street. Now that the street's been open for a period of time, maybe, there's an adjustment. Maybe it needs to be till 10 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. or I don't know. I don't get deliveries on 4th Street. I don't know. But it would be nice if we, maybe that's a place where we could, have a conversation anyway at one of their meetings or something and say,
I'll get a hold of Andrea, since she's the now president, I think, of the Merchants Association. And maybe we'll set up a meeting with her and a couple others and a couple of us, just to sit down and talk with them and see what they say. And maybe they're fine with it. I don't know. We'll find out what's going on, and then we can report back to the council. So,
Okay.
Yeah, if there's a council member who needs to be involved, I would be involved. I would honor being involved in that. I know Andrea quite well from other places I've dealt with her, and she's always easy to deal with. So,
well, Steve, you're already involved. You're on the street and alley committee anyway.
Oh, yeah, there I am.
I owe it, Steve.
Okay, that's all I have. Bill?
The city was lucky to receive a huge donation, in fact, today, of $160,000. The donation is restricted to the use for renovating and making improvements to Old Town Hall. The donation was made by Phyllis Mackey. And as you may recall, under Indiana law, if we are to receive and accept restricted donations, the donations restricted to a particular purpose, we need to adopt an ordinance creating a fund to receive those donations and restricting the use for the purpose intended. So you have before you on board pack an ordinance, a proposed ordinance that would accept the restricted donation and establish a special fund to be known as the Old Town Hall Improvements Fund in the city of Huntingburg. It accepts the donation by Phyllis Mackey of $160,000, and it creates the Old Town Hall Improvement Fund, which will be used to make improvements and renovations and maintenance of the Old Town Hall. And it would be open for contributions by other individuals willing to have their donations available for that same purpose.
And just so you guys know too, obviously, if you've been by there, they're doing some renovations as far as heating and air conditioning is concerned. There's also some IT concerns that were there that have to be moved because of where they were located. And they've actually got bids for that, and the park board still has to decide where they're moving it to. They've got bids for that, but I think that what Ms. Mickey has given is going to more than cover the expenses for that as well. So the city doesn't have to put the bill. So that way. So,
Which is 2021-06.
so we need a motion for the ordinance.
Motion for the ordinance 2006 or 2106.
There's a motion on the floor. And a second.
I'll second it.
Roll call, Tom.
Stephen,
Who?
Either
It don't matter.
Tim or Jeff, they're all
It
did.
helps me if somebody says who it is.
Okay, I'll say who it is. I'll pick. Have a roll call in, Tom, whenever.
Yvonne. McFerrin.
Aye.
Ware.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
Bound.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Yeah, we need to
you could suspend the rules.
suspend the rules for that.
Make a motion to suspend the rules with the thing item.
By Glenn Kissling,
I'll second it.
second by Jeff.
Duvon.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Ware.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
Bound.
Aye.
5 ayes.
So we need a motion to approve, right?
Yeah.
Make a motion for the final passage.
Jim Ware made a motion. Jose seconded.
Duvon.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Ware.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
Bound.
Aye.
Okay,
5 ayes.
anything else, Bill?
That's why.
Up to you, Tom.
All right. You have it's time to write off the utilities that have not had an activity in a year or that have been deemed uncollectible. Again, it's not that these won't, we're still going to try to collect these, but the amount is $11,616.61. Last year it was $16,300.
74.
That was just in,
Oh, no, last year it was $18,439. And the second page shows you the history of them. We did have I think the Trex program is helping us. In 2020, we actually got $18,908 recovered. So
tax season's coming up again.
And all these accounts have been entered on the Trex system. And if any of them should be entitled to Indiana income tax refund, it will be intercepted and applied to this account.
What do you attribute the lower number to this year? Because I guess I would probably think that due to COVID and the economic issue that's created that we'd see a higher number. But
they're not a year old yet.
Oh, I see. I see. So
You're
we'll deal with
gonna
that
see those
next
next
year. That's right. Okay.
So hold on.
These are more like 2019, I would think.
Yeah.
I've actually reached out to Mr. Bartels about possibly helping because the state mandated that we couldn't cut these folks off in the time. And I know there's been government issues like TRICAP has had money to help them pay for those utilities. But the folks had to go to that step to get it done. I'm afraid a lot of those people didn't get that step done. So I think, as we said, next year we can see a larger number. And it's brought on because the state said we couldn't cut it. In my opinion. I don't disagree that we did it, but that's just part of the problem.
There have been a lot of people who have done the deal agreements that have stuck to them. So maybe it won't be as bad.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Now, one of these numbers is pretty large on this.
So I just need for you to approve the write-off list.
Have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve your list.
Motion by Mr. Bounds, second by
I'll say.
Glenn Kissling. Roll call.
Dubon.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Ware.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
Bounds.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Anything else, Tom?
No, I do have ready the 2020 financial statements and as they compare to how we, the goals for savings, how they, all that was shook out at the end of the year. They're ready to go on to board back, but I'm not sure they're there.
Okay.
Okay, you are gonna post them then?
Well, I don't post, but
Right, I mean-
they're there to be put on.
Okay. All right. Be interesting to see.
And that is all.
Any other items to be brought up?
I'd like to ask, going back to the China Walk building, what are the current thoughts on the city's new ownership of that building, and when might we have some conversation about what the future holds for it?
I think one of the things we discussed or talked about with Phil was to put it into the redevelopment, right, Phil?
Authority, yeah.
Authority.
As you recall, the redevelopment authority was organized to take title to the 11th Street Fire Station in order to do a lease financing. And I believe, I haven't researched it yet, I need to do that. I believe we could, if you wanted to, elect to transfer that to the redevelopment authority. And that authority has a little bit more leniency when it comes to making improvements and spending money and selling property. Because the redevelopment authority doesn't have a budget of its own, the council may have to appropriate funds to make improvements. But I'm sorry, I just don't have the answers for that yet. I will look into that and maybe hopefully be able to advise you next meeting.
Would it be possible to direct income from that property that's currently being generated to a fund that would stay with that
Yeah.
redevelopment authority?
Once it's transferred to the redevelopment authority, right now it's owned as by the civil city, so it has to go to the general fund.
Okay.
But the redevelopment authority is not a part of the city. I guess we just need to.
Right, technically it's not. It's a separate entity, separate corporate from the city. So I just don't have a lot of information on that yet because I haven't done the research. I will.
Does that redevelopment authority have like a board or a group
It
of
does.
people that?
They're elected, I think, annually. The mayor, the clerk treasurer, and Glenn is currently on that board.
Okay.
And that was established by ordinance back when we did the lease financing for the fire station.
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll hold off until the next meeting to get some information about doing that or not.
Okay.
So right now, we're just going to be trying to figure out what's there and
What needs to be done.
what needs to be done.
You said that there's going to be a walkthrough? When is that scheduled for?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
For lack of a better way of putting it, we'll probably do that towards the end of the day. Like I said, we just got the keys today and we're hoping it's the right keys because when we went to pick them up, it's like, I think these are the right ones.
Okay.
So we'll see, but, and obviously the lease agreement is there for a period of time. There's certain things in the lease that we were looking into as to see how to do certain things, and that's about it. So
Did you look at the lease enough to know is the apartment included in the lease downstairs?
It is.
one of the apartments is,
There's more than one of them.
yeah, there's 2 apartments. up
Also in the lease, the landlord's entitled to $15 a month free food.
Mayor.
there. I'll share.
So that'll be twice a year for each of us, right?
The lease was actually originally written by a prior owner, prior to GSES, and he was an individual.
Yeah.
And then that lease was assigned to GSES when they purchased the property. It's now been assigned to the city.
I wonder if that accrues.
Yeah, let's see.
Only Tom would think of that. Any other items to bring before the council?
Not motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Kissling, seconded by Ware. Roll call.
Dubon,
Aye.
McFerrin,
All right.
Ware,
Aye.
Kissling,
Aye.
Downs. Bye-bye.